Okay, in theory we are live. So we'll see. See if we actually are live. It's fine. Live. And looks like we are. We'll just double check audio and actual stuff. That's good. So that looks fine. Mute that, and we will have a chat. It'll work. Yep, it exists. Good, cool, very nice. No, I don't want to learn more. I guess that's fine. Okay, cool. So last time we caught up on the episode we totally missed because the screen capture just decided it wasn't going to work, so that's fun. And then we started working on, if I just get this open, redoing entirely the effects, right? So we can get rid of the flash in a second. We had, if we just carry on, this outer orange effect, right? These orange sparks, we just had them going. If we just get rid of those real quick, let's get rid of the flash real quick. Don't need that, don't need that. The end, and we'll just update, oops, just update the prefab. Come on, update our override and turn it off. And go in and hit play. Okay, cool. So if we have this guy go, all right, as we step through, so we just got these, we just decided to completely scrap everything we did in Sprite, because even though the onion skinning, being able to step through the animation nicely, all of the things we love about Sprite, we weren't able to get the subtle gradient, opacity, alpha, dissolve that we were able to get if we use affinity and we use a kind of soft round brush and then a cutaway using the lasso tool and the delete key. That allowed us to get this kind of thing and then have that fade away. And we were able to consult the reference video to get a better idea of what this effect's actually doing, right? So this is just the orange and the shield, I guess. We called it hemisphere, right? We could rename this. We could. Shield. It's kind of a shield bubble, really, isn't it? Either way, that's what that is. So next thing that we need is the orange ring, and I think we're just going to call this sparks. So this is just sort of orange sparks. Kind of thinking about just entirely replacing the flash sprite with just a burst of particles that are really intensely emissive so that they interact with the bloom effect in the post-processing, and we have a bloom of sparks that kind of acts. Because I think that perhaps it's just the camera being overexposed that we have this situation where this is just completely blown out. I think that's just the camera, literally my phone camera filming the tally as I block in Ni No Kuni, and it's kind of masking the effect. I think we're probably better off just having a bunch of sparks just burst out, which we could do relatively straightforwardly, right? If we just add particle system and call it orange sparks burst, oops, and it's facing the right direction, which is fine. And if we just change, well, maybe we could make the, maybe we could have it emit like something like 100 particles and maybe a burst, and maybe just reduce the lifetime to almost nothing, something like that kind of thing. and then we wouldn't have it loop, but we would have the shape, the angle of the cone be much wider, but still forward, right? And then if we just as well, just turn off looping real quick, so we'll just change the duration to 1. Maybe 0.6, make that 0.62, and then if we just turn off looping, we can just go for something like that. Like that's still way too much, right? So we want like 0.2. I'll just make the whole system a little shorter. Cool. And then we'll increase the start speed to 50, right? And then that's going to have all these particles flying away. This is called orange glow, but I'm going to say that actually it is at least one of them is just orange, and one of them is orange glow. And I'm just going to change this to be actually a lit material in the universal render pipeline. So anytime you want to change the way that a material, the shader that material is using, you can just click on the material, go up to where it says shader and click on it. I'm using the universal render pipeline, right? I'm in Unity version 6.3. We are going to go, unless it's a custom shader graph, which would put it here, we're going to go to universal render pipeline, and we can just go lit, right? Default, it doesn't matter, 2D, whatever. And then we're just going to go emissive, and we're just going to increase the emissiveness to like 10. Doesn't really matter what the base color is. Increase that, make it really orange. That seems good. Okay, cool. So orange sparks, burst. Cool. Chuck that on there. Just go add component, will be fine, or you can chuck it in here in the renderer. Okay. We've got everything we need here. Yeah, specular, transparent, alpha clipping. Threshold's not super important right now, but we'll just that, just so we know it's going to actually do something. Because if we're using this default particle, where is our default particle? That's a good point actually. If we do that now, you'll notice that we have squares. Yeah. You'll notice that we have squares. Okay, so we haven't got an image in here, so we will need to go into our material properties and adjust our base map to whatever we want really, but the default particle will be fine for now. And then here's the alpha clipping. We can see if we adjust the threshold for the clipping, the higher it is, the how to describe this. If it's super low, the threshold, nothing will be clipped, and if it's super high, everything will be clipped. And you can see in here, it's showing us there. Just turn that guy around. It's weird. Weird that that actually affects that. That's kind of cool. So if we get the threshold, you can see this is everything, and this is getting clipped. Cool. So that's kind of cool. And then what I'm thinking really as well is we can use the same material, and we can it's cool this is coming out. I think that's fine. What I'm thinking is that we'll chuck on trails, and for the trail render material we'll use the same guy and just see whether that's going to be okay. I mean, because like, so basically if you use a trail, the material that is going to, I'll just do it so you guys can see. Right, let's duplicate that guy and instead call it orange glow. Fine, but we'll call it trail at the beginning so we know it's our trail material, right? And then we'll chuck that into where it says on the actual particle effect. In the renderer, trail material, we'll grab the one that says trail. chuck that in there. Now for this guy, in the base map, instead of having this default trail situation, we will import a texture, and I can show you if I find T for trail, or even the slash would be kind of cool. Slash could be good, maybe that's the only one I've got handy. Element P, T for trail, not in this folder, not in this folder, okay, that's fine. So this slash, we can see if we have a look at it, whoops, if we have a look at it, the particle system, the trail renderer, is going to take the left hand side of the sprite as the front of the trail and the right hand side as the back of the trail. So if you create something that's like butted up against the left hand side, it's going to connect directly to your particle, and therefore there'll be no gap here. Whereas the default particle, even though you can't really see it here very clearly, we have a default particle, and then we have the default particle as the trail stretched out, so the edges of the circle that's stretched kind of miss, depending on how long the trail is, miss the edge of the particle. So just even something like this will be a lot better as a base map for your material. So let's go and have a look at that. So trail glow, go to our trail material, and then in here for the base map, we're just going to select our image that we haven't adjusted, right? So when we get something new imported, we want to make sure it's set to 2D and UI, sprite 2D UI, and set single because it's default to multiple for no reason. Nothing else matters. Actually, something does matter. So we want to change this to grayscale for this specific image because it's black and white. Alpha is transparent. Okay, and then we can just preview it here. So that just gets rid of the background for us, which is great. Go to our burst and just grab up our trail material. Yep, trail material, and then we should be able to just check in here. I think it was called a slash, yeah, because it was for a sword slash kind of effect. Cool, okay, well that's, you know, let's change it. I mean, you can see if we just change it to none, then we have no material. And then if we change it to default particle, we have this look. And then if we change it to slash, we have this look, right? It gives us a more elongated particle because we're already working with something that is elongated from the left hand side of the image to the right hand side. And make sure your image is a square. That's a thing I didn't know automatically, that I wish I'd known sooner. Particles, like sprites used for particles and stuff, make them square and they will be less terrible. Okay, cool. So now if we just adjust the playback on this guy, if we turn off the gizmos for a second and just have a little look at it, so we can see that this is stretched all the way almost to the edges. So when our sword gets bonked, we're going to do this. Now you'll see as these particles die, trails disappear, which is crap. So we're going to go to where it says die with particles and kill them. Kill that setting, right? So as these particles die, the trail will follow them until it dies. It won't just die. Let's say also size effects width. Width over trail, let's go for a curve. And let's go for this guy, right? So now they're going to get thinner over the length of the trail, which is kind of cool. It kind of breaks them up a little bit, which looks kind of cool. Anything else? Okay, so yeah, so if we just have a look at the lifetime, we'll just make that random between two constants. Yeah, random between two constants, right? So anytime you're messing with particle systems, there's a lot of stuff. There's VFX graph is new, wonderful, but the shuriken system, the legacy system inside Unity, which still is the main thing that most people are using, I think. We can, is that working? Yeah. We can make stuff seem more organic just really easily by adjusting the initial setup in this sort of master node, the main module, as it's called in code, for the particle system, all the stuff that happens up here before we get to the other modules. Just changing them to be random between two constants will give you loads of variance, right? So 0.2, so if we go 0.1 to 0.4, suddenly we have automatically a load of variance in size from the start. And this guy looks better straight away, right? Looks kind of cool. Start speed, same deal, right? Random between two constants. We can just mess with this. Let's go 30 to 60. So whatever I had as a default, I'm just going to kind of surround a bit, and already we get a much neater effect. Like, this is something that really kind of blew my mind when I first started messing with it. It was like, oh, you can just put, same with the size, right? So the size at the moment is just set to 1. If we set it to 0.2 and 1.2, suddenly we have some cool stuff. Now it's going to crash and kill all of my progress, so I'm going to save. And laptop's heating up, that's always a good sign. So playback time. Yeah, so now we've got all this variation and coolness happening really quickly. Don't really care about rotation, don't care about any of the rest of the stuff, I'll just play it. Right? That's kind of cool, it's kind of cool. I could mess with things like size over lifetime, things like that. The color over lifetime is one of the weird ones. Okay, so here's the thing. If I do color over lifetime, I can then set this to a gradient, which it is by default. And then really I want it to fade out. So in color over lifetime, the top, I won't call them marker things, are for alpha, and the bottom ones are for color. So in theory, you would imagine if you set the top ones to be 0 alpha, make it 100% opaque, not opaque, transparent, 100% transparent, reduce the opacity to 0, then it will disappear, right? So we've done that. So over the lifetime of this particle, it should now completely disappear. And then it just totally doesn't do that at all. It seems to just not want to. And that's because it's an emissive material. And if the material was not emissive, which we could change by just turning off emission on the things. Let's have a look. Turn them off on both, why not? Then when we play this particle over the lifetime, it should be disappearing and dissolving. In theory, but it seems like it's actually not doing that at all. Well, that's kind of weird. Okay, maybe I'm just totally wrong. I mean, as far as I can tell, it might be because of the type of material as well. So it depends as well on the shader. So this is using Universal Render lit material. It needs to be an unlit material for that to work, apparently. Alpha clipping, specular. Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes it works, sometimes it totally doesn't work. And I don't know why. I feel like it's that. I feel like it's the emissive nature, the fact that it's a lit material. It won't let me do it. Who knows? Anyway, point is, it's not going to work. The reason it's not working is a little mysterious, but it won't work, so that's not worth doing. And then if you do size over lifetime, that will work. So we can have everything get bigger to the full, whatever the full size of the particle is between those two random points. Okay, very nice. We can mess with it so that everything gets smaller and just gets big and then disappears, right? Which is kind of cool. Big and then disappears. I think that might be the one. All right, for us, we might want it to just go as big as possible and then just tail off. It's kind of cool. Let's play it. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I'm kind of thinking this is near enough all I want. The only other thing is if I just put looping on for a second and we just burn our eyes out with the effect, I can add some noise to this, right? Increasing the scroll speed to quite high, frequency relatively high, and the strength's pretty high. It's not giving us the most, like if you can see, if I increase the strength we just get insanity, which looks kind of cool. It's a good way of doing lightning, just getting just like random noise in there. But I think just having even something like that would be cool, and then we can actually adjust things like the size amount as well. Makes it look kind of cool, and it is a fast effect, right? So that could be the one right there. Okay, cool. So I like that. I think that looks cool. I think it's fun that there's a burst of particles and a rate over time, but only for a little second. Just enough. Right, we're just getting this burst out of it, and then maybe we don't need all the other stuff. Perhaps, right? Maybe we don't need. I mean, the light is kind of cool, so maybe we'll leave that on. But this guy, I don't know if we really need just like a block of light. Let's try it. Let's apply the overrides and turn off and just have a little look, okay? And we will have a little go. Alright. Okay, so as the sword comes in, we should then trigger our sparks. Okay. And then we can see frame by frame how these look. I think that looks cool, and I think that the glow on the ground also looks cool. It's just the wrong color, right? It's not actually orange. It's kind of cool. I wasn't paying attention to the other effect here. Did I turn that off by mistake? Yeah, I've made that material the wrong one, so I edited one of the material. I kind of had a feeling that I'd done this actually when I thought about it. Oh, it's just saying orange glow, and then I just want it to be orange. And then the glowy one, maybe it isn't quite so intense. Maybe it'd be fine if it wasn't. And then just the light, just actually want it to be kind of just a little, yeah. So I'm just gonna make the light actually be orange. And then this guy, this is unlit, I believe. Just double check. So I'm gonna have to just pull this open to see sprite unlit, right? 2D sprite unlit. Alright. And I think that's fine. Have a little mixture. And we'll just apply that and turn it off. Okay. Okay, so we'll just bring the sword in. Alright. Flash. So now we have our super glowy sparks. We have our unlit, somewhat opaque anime style shading, right, which looks kind of cool. So we've got a real mix, and then we've got our blue coming in, and then yeah, dissipating, which I think looks cool, right? So let's have a little just try a couple of times just without pausing. Yeah, I think that's starting to look good, right? It's starting to look a little bit more homogeneous as an effect. The angle of it's kind of odd because it's actually coming off the angle of our sword, but overall I think it's looking pretty nice. Boom. Right, and we're mixing blue and orange here, which is kind of fun. I don't even particularly hate the shield bubble itself. I think it kind of is okay, and timing wise we're okay. So today we've gotten rid of a sprite. We're just gonna have a little look, right? So we're just gonna do it all inside of Affinity and just go frame by frame. So spikes, fiery ring, next one, it's almost completely gone, but we have a little bit more of a kind of thinner ring coming around the outside, which is then kind of solidifying into a bit of a thinner ring and a thinner ring, and then it just fades for like 4 frames. Okay, so this one that's underneath, this one is just a guide for what a ring is shape wise, and then here we're good. I'm kind of thinking of just kind of nabbing this bit off the side and maybe even just getting rid of almost all of this and doing something like this. Oopsie, wrong way. Right, something like this, just really kind of to neaten up what we've got going on. This. Okay, cool. So yes, ring, good. We could then duplicate this. I think we're probably better off just chucking in the next layer. I'm going two. Okay, so it's just orange ring 2. We will lock that guy and hide that and grab our brush. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. And we're going to go a little more accurate to the ring. Okay, and we're talking literally a fraction of a second per frame that we are actually drawing here. Okay, because we're only going to have a sort of 4 to 5 second frameage. So we'll just get a little bit of color down, something like that. See where we are. Yeah, not bad. Okay, cool. Maybe a little extra. Oops. Maybe a little extra up the top here, because we kind of want to have this be coming up into a full ring. That's looking pretty good. And I'm being really rough here because I'm about to go lasso tool and delete button, right? So, no. Well, yeah, but first I'm going to grab the eraser and just kind of come in and cut a few sort of random shapes in here. So we did this last time, so if you're just joining us, what we are doing is we are doing essentially the shape carving method, where we are going to cut different shapes that we're sort of interested in for the fire out of this big chunk of stuff. What this does is one pass of the eraser gives me a remaining little bit of semi-opaque orange, and a second pass gets rid of it entirely. So if we do one and then another and then another and then go with this, we can kind of get something where we can get a little bit of organicness in. And if we do it right and then we grab the lasso tool, we can then begin to just using the lasso and delete, we can end up carving something out of here. Okay, that's what we're going for, and we're going for a kind of fiery, organic, fiery look. So we don't have to be too accurate. We're just kind of trying to get something looking kind of like it's alive. We want to leave some of this semi-transparent gradient behind. It's kind of cool. And the reason that the lasso tool is so much fun is that we can get some really sharp edges out of this guy. It's kind of cool. Okay, yeah, I'll do this, that's fun. Okay, so we've got this first one, we've got the second one, and then we're going to go again, new layer. We'll just do it all from scratch each time. So for this one, I'm going to do the same kind of deal and have the circle join at the top. And It's not ideal that we're having to do it inside Affinity, but it is giving us a lot more control in the tools that we're using, and it's making the whole thing a lot smoother. Like drawing in Sprite. If you're doing pixel art, cool, right? It's the perfect tool for doing pixel art, absolutely, animation, all that stuff. But if you're doing anything a little bit more high res, a little bit more detailed, and you want some variance in your opacity, I think just hand drawing shit in Affinity is going to be basically the answer. And like I said, I'm just getting the basics here. Basically blocking out roughly where I'd like my flames to exist, and they may be completely dissipating in this frame. This might be the beginning and the end of the circle. And I'm just going to grab my eraser and just come in, right, and just pull away chunks I think would be cool to be missing, like these, and leaving a fair amount behind, just give myself something to work with. And yeah, I'm being pretty rough with it. Because that's about right. So what I'm after. Cool. And then lasso. So this is where I'm going to start chopping chunks out. And so. And near enough just squiggling through this. I'm thinking a little, there is some intentionality in here, I promise, but I'm mostly just squiggling this kind of shape, something like that, and then hitting delete. That's basically it, right? I'm just trying to create some organic kind of fiery shapes, and it gives us the ability to get these kind of really sharp points where it would be kind of difficult to do if you were using a brush. We just delete some bits out of these guys. Like that. And this is going to be basically disappearing over the next frame or two, so I'm not too worried about it. Ow. Okay, cool. Let's save this as well. So that's this guy going to this guy. So we're getting this guy, and then we're getting here, and then we're getting here. And then really, after that, we're going to be pretty much, I might be able to have the animation go linearly and then just stop entirely. Let me just have a look at one of these guys that's using the sprite sheet animation grid frame over lifetime, right? So this kind of thing, we're going 0 to 30 frames over the lifetime, but if I was to double click in here and then just have it be flat, I could hold a frame over an elongated period of time, and that would be over the lifetime of the particle. So I could have 4 frames of active animation where stuff's changing, followed by 1 frame when nothing changes that actually lasts longer than the rest of the animation entirely, and then have the whole thing fade out, which is kind of what I want. So instead of overdoing it on the animation side, I am going to do near enough that, right? I might add a little wiggle or something. Right, so I'm just going to trace this guy. Maybe I'll duplicate it and do some edits. Right, so if I give this guy a little bit of something like this, and then I got the eraser, and we kind of bring it in a little. And again, I don't really need this to be particularly pristine. And then lasso. It's pretty much this. And then the only thing that I'm really being careful of is that my ends match up so that I'm deleting the right bit, because if the lasso links, if I do this and then I go this way, then obviously I'm going to be deleting that internal part. That's not what I want. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to go that way and then delete that side. Right? That's all I really care. That's everything else is just a scribble. So that's cool. Looks good. Fine. I like it. This looks a little like it could use some work. Cool. Like it. If I just grab that guy and duplicate it and make that the 5th frame and lock that guy underneath. So I'm locking each frame as I go, because it's super easy to end up on the wrong frame and just completely destroy and overwrite what you're doing. The other thing I'm doing is turning off the layer underneath, right? Because it's the same, it'd be very easy to cock that up. So I'm going to go in with the eraser again and just have the whole thing be edited a little. These, and then lasso again. Yeah, nice. Sorry, my baby's making the craziest noises out there. I've just been choked to death. Okay, cool. That's looking good. Duplicate that guy. And then I'm sort of thinking I might end up holding this 5th frame. Oh, hello. Yes. 4. Oh. 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? Blue, orange, yes, turn off. Good. Okay, cool. Did I duplicate that guy? What is going on right now? What's happening? Looks like something in there. Okay, I'm just gonna kill that guy. Paste it. Turn it on. Yeah. Okay, not sure what I did there. I don't know if I just screwed it up. So again, I'm just going to get rid of down here. There we go. Just going to get rid of this underneath the orange ring that we're looking at. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to grab this, and grab some of these guys. Really start to pull away some of this situation, and then send the lasso. Cool. And oops, hello. Q. Cool. New. Why does it want to do that? That's 7. That's 6. That's where my eyes today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. Okay, cool. And then this is the last frame that's going to matter. So I'm going to start getting rid of almost all of it with the eraser, and then lasso most of it away. I can have loads of this fade out anyway, but if I wanted it to glow a little more, I can have just this remainder. Okay, cool. So now what I've got to do is export all of these one at a time, which is just terrible. Right, let's just grab this guy real quick. know why that's looking so not what I want. It's fine. So some of these, this was just a bit of a slapdash situation. I think the first one. That's fine. Okay, cool. So here we go. So we're going to export these, and in case anyone's wondering, it's 1000 by 1000 by canvas, which is overkill for an effect like this, but it's just giving us the ability to chaos. The ability to wait a second. Add as much detail as we want, right? We got really high resolution, that's lovely. Not super optimized for going to a game, but if we wanted to, we could reduce the resolution on these, we can increase the compression. There are many things we could do. What are we on? 4. My baby's making the craziest noises. Really quite mad. 5, 6. So this is not great. This is not a sprite sheet, right? We're going to have to stick this into a sprite atlas. Not fun. Oops. That's not good. That's not good at all. At least 7 into, yeah, and this is not, I did not want to do it this way, but Affinity was not being my friend. I don't have a software currently that is great for animation, so I'm just going to have to make do. So this is Orange Ring, and I'm just putting everything in a folder because I'm having to import stuff as a whole bunch of sprites. Not great. And I would much prefer not to have to. It's good. Import. Okay, so these are hopefully going to look nice once we get them all sorted. Next step is to select everything, hold Shift, click. We are going to make all of them Sprite 2D UI, single and full rect. Input alpha, yeah, input texture alpha is fine, and apply because I actually turned off the background. So when I was drawing them, I had a grey background to give me something to see what's going on and stop me blinding myself. But when I exported them, I turned that off, so I had an alpha background, transparent, and now these all look correct. Next, pain in the ass to do this, but it does yield pretty good results. Need to have a 2D stuff installed in the package manager, which I can show you in a minute. I'll show you now before I forget. So window, package manager. Is package manager just here now? What have I done with it? What is going on? Why is nothing ever anywhere anymore? Package management, package manager. Okay. So it'll be just in project at the moment, but there's like 2D packages which contains all the sprite stuff, just everything you need. If you haven't got that, you just go Unity registry, 2D packages, install, where it says remove there. Okay, so in order to turn this into something we can actually use, we need to create a 2D sprite atlas, right? Same as we got here. Whoops, same as we had over here. This is Orange Ring. Let's call it that. Turn off type packing because the particle system won't let us use it if we do that. Orange Ring. Got a bunch of stuff called Orange Ring apparently. Orange Ring 1. Just wondering if we've got like a bunch of stuff. Okay, it's giving us everything. We're going to go for the uncompressed ones. So not that. Let's just paste in orange ring. Oops. And that'll give us what we need. Okay, so there's the orange ring there, and then this is orange ring 2. Why it's such a pain. That'll be orange ring 3. And basically what we're doing is chucking all of these in. So, chucking all of these in order and making sure we get the ones with the symbol next to it. That's important. So that was 4, that is 5, and yes, this is an enormous pain in the ass. That's 5, that's 6, and that is 7. Okay, cool. So once that's all done, make sure you hit apply. So we just need to make sure that we have tight packing unchecked. Everything else is fine, and hit apply. It will then try and pack those into a texture. It doesn't look good to me. Looks like we've only got 4 things in there. So that's good. Max texture size, reduce that and try again. Okay, now we just got one thing. Oh, the size of the entire thing. Okay, let's just increase. I think that's the entire texture. Apply. They're 1000 by 1000. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you need to make sure that, like I said, I've just made it enormous. 1000 by 1000 pixel canvas is overkill. But that allows us to get enough in there. Fine. Then we're able to apply that to a material, is what's happening. I'm pretty sure that's what we ended up doing. Which one was it? Let's just turn this on real quick. It is the sky. Right, this. We have, let's jump down here real quick, an orange material that has no texture on it. And then in the texture sheet animation, we're putting in, again, we have to manually put in every single frame that we want. And it all has to be on a sprite atlas for it to be able to load into the particle system, but you still have to manually place it in there. So let's duplicate this guy and call it orange ring. Blocking atlas, and we're going to say atlas because that's what it is, and we're going to find texture animation, and we're going to delete all of these things, go to our ring sprites and drag them in. Hopefully it will be okay. 1, 2, if I drag this over, I'll see what we're doing a little bit more. Add. Right. 3, 4. So this is, oops, by far the worst possible way of doing anything ever, but it is apparently the way that this works. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. 6 and 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. And as you can see, it is working. It's ridiculous. It seems like this most definitely should not be a thing. Why is this a thing? It's ridiculous, but that's one way of doing it. We're either doing it by a sprite sheet or we're doing it by sprite atlas, and blah, I would much prefer to use a sprite sheet, but I can't export one for Affinity, so screw me, I guess. Okay, so we have that. Wonderful. Let us just get rid of both of those real quick. Okay, so this is the guy. Playback time. So we got this coming up, and then we've got all sorts of stuff happening in here. that is at the moment interacting with the floor plane, but that's only because of the placement of the particle system. And if we restart it, it's very fast. I mean, the animation itself, fine with that. We could maybe make it a little smaller, like these. We could have the size over lifetime instead of just jumping up at the ends there, which is what it's doing. We could have it actually grow, shrink. That's kind of cool. We can have the frames, like I said, we can adjust the frames in this. At the moment it's going like 0 to 7. We could get it to like 6, and then maybe slowly go to 7. Just give us just a little bit more time on those last frames. Let's slow it down a little bit, which is kind of cool. We can increase the lifetime a little bit as well. So if we just do that, right, that automatically obviously makes it look a lot different. We don't want it to be that long. Something like this is probably good. It's pretty cool. Increase the start size. And now we've got this kind of puff going off, which is kind of cool. Let's hit save, and let's just chuck everything that we have so far. New. Alright, cool. So those are all together. Let's just apply all those overrides, and save, and turn it off. Play, and hit space. Okay, so if we just jump through, we've got our sword coming in. So we might have some decisions to make about the kind of mixture of emissive materials and like literally just unlit materials. Could be something to have a think about, but for now it's fine. Got this guy. Then we got the ring coming in underneath, which looks kind of cool, and then that's dissipating basically in line with our other ones. So that's kind of fun. Let's just have a look at that real quick. Looking cool. Swing. And we're getting really like a lot more of the kind of anime feel out of these particle effects now, because we've really just hand drawn some cool stuff, right? I think it's looking kind of cool. Just go in here. It's kind of cool. I mean, only slight issue for me is that the effect is spawning at an angle because the sword's at an angle, so the kind of flames coming up are now going like this way. So I guess I'd be tempted to have this guy not do that. But hey, we could always fix that through code. So that looks kind of cool, right? So we've done that. So let's just have a look back to the reference, right? Reference your reference image, everybody. So we get a flash, which we decided we kind of want these bright guys more. And actually the light is cool, and the light being orange makes sense. Then we've got these spikes, right? We've got these, what do we call them? Flashes? What do we call them? Sparks, right? Got these sparks coming out, which is cool. We've got those animated. We've got the ring going and then dissipating, which is kind of cool. And that might be something that we want to actually have a little look at. I mean, I think really the way it is at the moment, it is dissipating already because we just duplicated something that was already doing that, right? So at this point, the outer ring is at full opacity, and then as we step through, it starts to fade. Yeah, right? Alpha starts to fade because that's what we told the other particle system to do. That's fine. Let's have a look what else we got. So, and then we've just got the blue rings coming out and dissipating, and they are coming in there's a little bit of a sort of blue spark as well, which we could kind of technically just potentially color adjust the orange sparks. Let's see if we can do that real quick. Orange sparks, all these guys, is that right? It's just 4 frames. Yeah, okay, let's just chuck these guys in a group and let's do adjustment to recolor them, and maybe just start with this guy and turn that guy off. Okay, cool. So color adjustment layer. Hello. There we go. Alright. So just recolor these guys to be blue. It's kind of this kind of blue, right? Okay, cool. And then in theory, all of these are now blue, and what I would do as a trick, right, bit of a cheat, is just rotate these guys and just have them be at a different angle, right? So let's just do that. So we'll just do that, and we'll just say blue sparks 1. Cool. Copy and go. And go like that. And go to the next guy, and yeah, this is not excellent, but I don't know, I could kind of get into it if it was only if I'm only talking about doing. Oops. Only talking about doing the odd frame, like 10 frames tops kind of thing, then yeah, this is potentially a way that you can do a thing. It's great, but the whole point of this channel is to explore different pipelines, different ways of doing things inside Unity, inside visual effects, and really to talk about kind of how to break something down and to order your stuff, right? How to blue spark. Come on now. How to organize your work, right? Because if you don't have shit organized, it's gonna fall apart. Okay, import new asset and navigate to wherever you exported your stuff. Grab all of these guys. Go. Grab them all and do the same thing we always do. There must be an easier way. To just check all of them to Sprite 2D UI, check that they are all single and full rect. Otherwise, the particle system sprite atlas is going to complain. Image texture alpha is fine because I turned my background off and now I have all of those things in blue. If I just made them white, I could duplicate the particle system and change the color. Note to self. But yeah, that's fine. So let's have a little look at this guy. That would have been very much the easier way of doing things. What we got? That's that guy. And that is totally the one that I want. Duplicate. Let's just. It is that. It is blue sparks this time. So, you know, we've kind of gone through quite a lot of stuff here where we have really just gone like, okay, what is the effect? What are the components that make up the effect? How do we break those into individual things that we can mess with? And then how are we going to do it? Are we going to like hand draw it, kind of like it probably was, right? Studio Ghibli style? Or are we going to use the particle system to simulate these things? Are we going to use a mixture? And the truth is, I did not know going into it. Orange sparks. I'm going to duplicate that. Sprite Atlas and call it blue sparks. Now this is a 4-frame animation, so I'm not particularly bothered. Like, I think we're doing great here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock this up here, so that if I navigate to my blue sparks folder and start dragging stuff in, if I cock it up, accidentally click on one of these guys, it doesn't get rid of this. That's a useful thing that someone taught me. Why is it being weird? Oh, these are the ones I want. I feel like they are. I feel like these are the uncompressed versions and it prefers that. Okay, well let's do that. Alright, cool. And then we're going to make sure this is not allowing type packing, everything's fine. So I duplicated it and apply. And there they are. Okay, and I can uncheck this lock mark, right? And go into my texture sheet animation, and I will need to change this material. Which seems kind of dumb, but yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Yep. Okay. And then in theory, with a little bit of tweaking to the timing and the rotation, what have you, we should have the blue version. Now it's mixing with orange, so we have green apparently. So let's just have a look at that real quick. Material, orange, duplicate, call it blue. And this always confuses the hell out of me. I need to go to unlit, change it to blue. That is basically what I want. And then go back to lit. Sorry, go back to lit. No, it was unlit. What did I go for? It was universal render file. I went to the unlit default. That's what it was. Okay, cool. And then this guy is going to get blue material. Playback will be in blue. Okay, that's how you do it, guys. Alright, cool. Let's save that. Let's apply all of that to prefab. Have a look at it. Alright, so like timing wise, if we just do orange, just all of that at the same time, you can see what's going on a little bit, right? We've got basically overlapping of the blue and the orange, and I do not want that. I want the blue to come, first and be bigger. So we just got these blue flashes, right? I just want them to be bigger and offset, right? So first of all, grab the blue sparks, let's change the size. Just go to the full size of the thing. Full size, cool. And then the start rotation, just make it offset. And then I think we want it to be longer lasting, but also have the size of a lifetime. Go from here to here, kind of, potentially. Let's see what that is. Alright, that's kind of fun. That is kind of fun. Okay. So look. Nope. Not gonna let us. Okay. Alright. Alright. Can't actually go up there even though it's doing it. That's fine. Let's go. Let's come down to here. Wait, that looks kind of cool. Off into the side and put it all together. Let's see how it's looking. So remember, this is just the sparks coming out the side. Oops. Which I think is looking pretty cool. And the only bit that I'm kind of a bit annoyed about is that there's not enough of it. And I think just literally duplicating it and having it be at a different start rotation. Oh, right. So that one is that way round. Cool. We just change the start rotation to be like these. And if we fire both of these guys together, now this is ridiculous, obviously, because we've got so many particle systems spawning in already, and it is a bit mental, but alright, that's kind of cool. Let's just do both of these together. That's time, apparently. Okay, and then start rotation is this guy. Okay, fish. Maybe that is correct. Okay. And these guys together. Now we've kind of doubled up our blue, and that was kind of cool. So we're not really going for like the most performant thing in the world, and my laptop is hot, but we are getting something kind of cool. It's looking pretty cool. I like it. I like the blue. Okay, let's just step through to the sword swing. Okay, boom, spring. We've got these sparks, and they are way bright. And we've got all the blue coming out. I think dissipating, looking pretty nice. Okay, the only thing we have left to do, in my opinion, is the blue rings that are potentially something that we could just have a particle system just emit randomly a couple of circles that get bigger. So look at our textures. Right, so we have this basic gradient here, and if we were to create a material, and we've already got circle gradient material, but let's just do it. Let's just do this real quick and just see. If this is crap, we will do another episode where we do that. So blue rings. Yep, okay. Over here. So all we're doing here is we are applying the blue ring material, which is a glowing material that already exists. We are creating, I mean, as you can see, we now have bubbles. That looks pretty sweet. The emission rate over time. We make this random between two constants and make it between 1 and like 3. And then we make the shape just a point, just by making it an infinitely small circle. Nope. An edge, infinitely small edge, and then changing the, we can either rotate it or let's rotate it around X. No. Yeah. Right. Ah, cool. Right, so that's going that way. Let's also, we'll do a couple of things. First of all, we don't actually want it to have any speed, so that's irrelevant. And then we are going to have it face the direction where are we? Normal. We're looking here. I don't want it to face me. Basically, I want it to face whichever way it's facing. None means it won't render at all. Billboard means it's straight, but it's still facing the camera. Stretch billboard is not what we want. Horizontal billboard will make it flat. Vertical billboard should just make it stick to whatever position it's doing, but it's not. It's still following me around. Why can I ever remember? Mesh. Ooh, well, that's exciting. That is kind of cool. Okay, maybe that's. Now we're looking at some stuff. Okay, yeah, I just want it to be a vertical billboard. I want the render alignment. Am I just being blind and not seeing the thing that I want? Let me just read these properly. Render mode, yeah, sorting, sort mode. Why am I being so blind right now? Masking, pivot, normal direction. Yeah, it's not gonna render differently. Oh, just has to be in billboard mode. What is wrong with me? Okay, and we're just gonna make it not local, but no, don't have any velocity. World? No. Right, so view is facing me, so I want it to be local, and I want it to not be rotated. 0, 0. Okay, cool. Excuse me. Alright, so that was, oops, that was setting the render mode to billboard allows you to set the render alignment. Otherwise that disappears and you can't do it. So, good fun. Alright, cool. So, if we restart this guy, we're spawning in over time some objects. Lifetime is whatever lifetime is, and we want the size. Again, if you have this issue where you're making something bigger and it just won't go bigger, and then you zoom out and it is bigger, that is because you have the max size of the particle set too low. So if your camera's too close, it won't render it to full size. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So let's have a look. So we want our start size to be somewhere roughly. I mean, that's a good question actually. What is happening in the reference? So it's going much bigger, right? So they're going to almost twice the size. These outer blue rings going to almost twice the size as the inner nice bit. So that kind of looks about right actually. So start size is going to be something like this. Then once you've set the start, this is the bit that's kind of confusing. You set the start size and then you do size over lifetime. Suddenly you have a cool effect, right? Basically, I want 1 or 2, and then 1. You have 3 different particle systems emitting 1 particle with a delay, or I can mess with the way that this is emitting particles. Start the loop and restart. So that's just emitting either, if we have a look, 1 over like 1 per second or 3 per second. Is that right? Rate over time? Don't know. So we'll just set this to 1 second. We'll set the lifetime to 1 second. Okay. So that's 1. Increase this. 1 or 2. So we want something between, somewhere between these 2 numbers. Here's what we want. That's kind of cool. Right, so let's say 4 and 2. And as you can see, it is randomizing a little. which is kind of cool. So let's go 1.8 and I believe is about, alright. Okay, so that's about what we want, right? But it's over time, it's over the lifetime of the effect, right? So if I restart the whole thing, everything's over before those guys even get out the gate, right? Which is not great, right? So we don't want that. We're going to need the whole thing to be much quicker. 0.3 maybe. Maybe 0.2. And if we do that, we have no particles, 0 particles. There we go, cool. So you might have to just kind of fudge these numbers slightly. Yep. Right. Look at this. Okay. Alright. So I'm just playing with the upper and lower bounds here to give myself something that I think feels right. I want 1 or 2. And maybe if I play it a couple of times. It's kind of cool. And then what I really want is for the size over lifetime to not start from 0. Let's start from kind of halfway up, and that will slow these guys down a little bit. Okay, right. Quarter of the way. It'll slow them down a little. Just see how those all look together. Switch as a saving. All these guys, right? So we're going to ignore the internal one, but now you can see we've got a little bit of something. Bloop bloop, right? Bloop bloop, bloop bloop. Not bad actually. Like that's actually kind of cool. That looks kind of fun. And if we save it, and this guy, I think we're done with. So I'm just gonna delete out the bits that I don't think I like. I don't really like that sprite one. I'm gonna get rid of these guys. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna apply that all to the override. All those overrides have been applied. Kill that guy. I'm gonna save everything. I'm gonna apply. There you go. Alright. That's kind of fun. Cool. I like it. No, I kind of feel like that's good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's just pause it real quick. Step through. Blue is going faster than the orange, which is kind of fun. It's like it's outpacing it. And then we've got these just normal ones. All the work we did with the UVs, everything we did to make that hemisphere look nice. This seems irrelevant now because we can just have a flat sprite basically do what we want. But that's fine. Yeah, you can basically not even really tell the difference, but I think that there's enough of a difference and there's a little bit of parallax. What might be fun would be to add some kind of lens distortion to a custom shader for the internal bubble, so it actually bends the light and makes it look like we're really hidden behind something physical, and it would bend these lines in the background, which would be cool. So yeah, that could be something we could play with. For now, I think that thing's done. Right, we broke down all the elements, and yes, we kind of rushed the last bit, but I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's kind of cool. I think if we were running around and pulled up our sword, the sword came in and smacked us, and that happened, I'd be pretty happy with that. For me, I'm happy with that. Okay, cool. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. This is the 6th episode, I believe. So it's taken us, 8 hours to do this one breakdown. Some technical issues, not gonna lie. We'll have a little look at it in context, right? Spook. Boop. I think we've done a pretty good job, right? So this guy is coming in hot. He is hitting us. We get this kind of flamey effect, this little dissipating ring. And there's our one. Yeah, it's fun. We've got all the different elements in there pretty nicely. It was fun to break it down as well. So the next step is, if you have a suggestion of the next effect you'd like to see broken down, doesn't really matter what it is, any game, even just stuff from anime, I guess, whatever it might be, any kind of visual effect, we'll take a look at it and we'll make it real time. We'll break down the different components. We will write out a list of what those components are. Right, so one of the things that we did over here is we wrote a quick breakdown of all the different elements and how we might structure the animations and what the different bits are. We'll do it neater next time, how about that? But that was really useful, right? It was really cool to be able to just have it broken down into each component and just start tackling them one at a time and build them into something we can use and trigger in real time in an editor and pause, right? Because we've just got a little bit of delay when we hit go on our sword swing for the enemy through code, which is what we did. Now we can kind of step through the animation in real time as it's happening in situ. I like this. I like these blue rings coming out. Look fun, right? And I do feel like I would like to have a little play with some kind of distortion, right? Lens distortion on that shield object, which I think we could do through shader graph relatively easily, so that might be something to have a little play with. Anyway, let's call it there. Let's say that this effect looks cool, and what I'll do is I'll try and turn it into a short so that you can just see like snapshot what the effect is, maybe with some bullet points of what the different elements are, just so we have like kind of a bit more of a useful 60 seconds than just, hey, here's an effect that I made. The whole point of this channel is to do things in excruciating detail and fuck up and, you know, have to go back and redo stuff because we did it wrong and explore different tools, which is kind of how we play with today. So I will see you guys on the next one. If nobody suggests anything, I'll pick it and we'll just do the same thing again and just run through it until we've done all of the effects that exist. Does that sound good? Yeah. All the effects in the world.